NATO has released satellite images it says show Russian armed forces inside Ukrainian territory. It says at least 1,000 Ukrainian troops are actively involved in the fighting in Ukraine's east. The US ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, blames Russia for the escalating violence.
Russia has to stop lying and has to stop fueling this conflict. The mask is coming off. In these acts, these recent acts, we see Russia's actions for what they are, a deliberate effort to support and now fight alongside illegal separatists in another sovereign country.
Russia's ambassador to the European Union denies the country has sent troops into Ukraine. Vladimir Chitsov says the timing of the claims reveals another agenda in play.
The ones who are lying are the representatives of the Ukrainian government, because all these allegations that you've been hearing and referring to, they are false. Every time there is a major EU meeting, like the European Council that will be meeting here in Brussels on Saturday, on the eve of any such event, there is an input of misinformation.
Meanwhile, United States President Barack Obama says the US will not take military action in Ukraine. Mr. Obama says it's clear Russian forces are fighting in Ukraine. However, the US cannot defend Ukraine, which is not a member of NATO.
I consider the actions that we've seen in the last week a continuation of what's been taking place for months now. There is no doubt that this is not a homegrown indigenous uprising in eastern Ukraine. The separatists are backed, trained, armed, financed by Russia. Throughout this process, we've seen deep Russian involvement in everything that they've done.
But pro-Russian separatist leader Alexander Sakarchenko insists any Russian fighters are either volunteers or regular Russian troops on holiday who consider it their duty to fight.
There are about 3,000 to 4,000 of them in our ranks. Many have left, but more are still here. Unfortunately, some have been killed. Many former high-ranking military officers have volunteered to join us. They are fighting with us, considering that to be their duty. Moreover, I will make another revelation. There are also many in the current Russian military that would prefer to spend their leave among us, brothers who are fighting for their freedom, rather than on a beach.
Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko has cancelled a trip to Turkey and called an emergency meeting of his country's National Security Council. Mr. Poroshenko says he could not leave Ukraine during what he called an incursion by Russian troops. His Prime Minister, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, says it's time for the international community to take strong action against Russia.
Vladimir Putin has deliberately unleashed a war in Europe. The entire world knows it, and it cannot be concealed. That is why the world now should take effective steps.
United States and European leaders are considering new sanctions against Russia following the latest developments in Ukraine.